Hey folks, welcome back, or of course, welcome to Lone Pine Tarot for the first time if you're brand new here. And as I always say, thank you so much for joining me for our pick a card reading today. And our topic is all about a big payoff. So results, rewards, blessings coming from sweat equity that you've given to something, your hard work and dedication, whether it's been something related to career or maybe relationships, personal growth, maybe even a creative project you've been working on. Whatever it is, this reading is going to unveil what the payoff will be. So without further ado, let us choose our pile leaders to choose the messages with. So Spirit, please come forward and help us in our community choose the right cards. Thank you. Okay, I already feel like this one for pile number 1. And then I'll feel for pile 2 and 3 right there. There's pile 2. And here is pile 3. Let's unveil them and flip them over, okay? So for pile number 1 over here on the left, your pile leader today is Earth with a very cute fox. For pile 2 today, your pile leader here in the middle is Wish. We have a witch with almost looks like a moon in her hand and crows overhead. And last but not least, for our wonderful pile number 3 over here on the right, your pile leader today is the card Enchanted, almost a fae-looking figure with a black cat next to her feet. Okay, so quick reminder, pile 1 is Earth, pile 2 is Wish, and pile 3 is Enchanted, though as I always say, you are 100% welcome to pause on this part of the reading if you need more time to decide what pile you would like read for you. Sometimes I recommend choosing a number 1 through 3, whichever one feels right, go with that particular pile. Or if you're new to pick a card readings and you want a more in-depth kind of meditative method, or you just want to take a few moments out of your busy day, please follow my voice right now. So close your eyes. Take in a deep, cleansing breath. Imagine light filling your lungs as you do so. Then hold it for just a moment. And then when you breathe back out again and open your eyes, where are they drawn most first and what feels right down in your gut? And that is the pile I recommend you choose. But as I always say, you can even pick what looks coolest. That works 100% fine too. When you're ready, drop down to the description box below or the top pinned comment beneath the reading. Find the timestamp for your pile. And I will see you in our chat about what is about to pay off big. Okay? See you in the reading. Hello there, my beautiful pile number 1. Welcome to your pick a card reading today that is all about a big payoff based on work that you've been doing, something that you've been pouring sweat equity into, as we described in the intro. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the very cute card of the fox with the title of Earth as your pile leader today. Now, what I hear first in terms of intuitive messages with this card, pile 1, is the manifestation, the big payoff, so to speak, is related to something that you do with your hands, or it's something very, could potentially be like nature focused as well. You know, maybe some of you have a job that's related to like animals or nature or being outdoors a lot, or it could also be something that's just very like job focused or on the ground, kind of mundane, everyday focused. And when I say mundane, I don't mean to downplay the volume, I guess I would say, of what the blessing is, right? I just mean because Earth in cardomancy is the suit of, our job, our finances, our home and our security is like another phrase I like to use with Earth energy in card reading. It's something along the lines of, what supports you and what gives you that security, okay? So that's where this big payoff is coming in, although of course, we'll see in your tarot reading more details about where this is coming from, as well as, why is the payoff coming, right? You want to know those details. And then, of course, what is the payoff itself? So without further ado, let us put your pile leader over here to the left to begin. And then let's start with the tarot cards. We're using the Spacious Tarot today, which is also really resonant with Earth energy being a nature deck. So perfect deck for you, my wonderful pile 1s. Okay, Spirit. What else do you want to tell us about the context of this? Thank you. Also, too, pile 1, I'm also drawn to the, whenever we think of a fox, we think of they're like symbols of being clever. They're symbols of being very smart and astute and intelligent, right? They're not the biggest predator in the food chain in the woods, but that doesn't mean that they're not successful through their intelligence. So I feel like a lot of this blessing is also coming through something that you've had to do, maybe a lot of like fine detailed, fine-toothed comb work over, something that really used a lot of your intelligence and a lot of like keen eye to detail. So for some of you that might be like a craft business, like doing something very close with your hands. For some of you that could also be a big payoff related to like for some reason I'm thinking like surgery, like a really detailed fine work. So I mean that doesn't necessarily mean that you're all a surgeon, but it could be like a health related type job too, where this payoff is coming from. So interesting. But it does something, or it is related to something of that nature where it requires to be clever and it requires you to be like very astute and keen to details. Okay. Then the first card is the Three of Swords. Okay, interesting. So the Three of Swords traditionally can mean pain, pile number 1. In this type of reading, I almost wonder if where this all came from was... Because I call the first card the inciting incident. That's kind of what got this all started, like, and what set you on this path. I think there was a pain that you were trying to correct in some way. And once again, for those of you especially that have, like, health-related careers, that can mean literally the pain of, like, trying to heal other people's pain, too. So maybe some of you are surgeons and, like, nurses, and I just, I was like, I don't know, but okay, that seems like maybe a little bit of a synchronicity there. So we have that with the Three of Swords, right? Came from a pain of some sort and overcoming a pain. Or say if it was like a creative project, pile number 1, it could have been that maybe a lot of what fueled this creative project of yours was, a pain that you were channeling into art of some sort. Or it could also be that, maybe, you got into whatever this is because you had a pain that you were trying to either, I don't want to say avoid, maybe channel in a healthy way, put that energy some towards something healthy, right? Or it could also be that whatever it is that you've been trying to achieve with this goal has been to release or relieve pain in other people in some way, okay? If not also yourself. So then we have the Child of the Page of Swords reversed. Okay. So the Child of the Page of Swords reversed, pile 1, is someone that is potentially new to something. It could also be someone that is young, hence the page, or well, this deck says child, right? That is exploring something, but they're not quite sure how to look at it, how to view it, and maybe they're at the point of trying to gather information and they're not quite sure which direction to go. I mean, it's very cute with this particular depiction of it because we have a crow that's looking underneath their feet, like looking at it in a different perspective. Like, how do I see this idea in a different way? We're exploring ideas too. So I think because this is the recent past position, that's where a lot of your energy has been so far after the initial, whatever the pain was that sparked you on this journey, okay? So you've been in the exploratory phase. You've been trying to figure out, well, how do I manifest this thing? You've been a lot in the air realm so far, hence the swords. And swords and air and tarot is all about our mind, our communication, the way we logically think about things as well. And maybe that's why Earth came up here as your pile leader, because it's like manifesting and alchemizing all of this from the air realm of ideas and, maybe things that you verbalize but haven't necessarily accomplished yet, and then turning it into Earth. We'll see what the other cards are as they pop out, but yeah, and I think you had a bit of a struggle here too, pile 1. Maybe that's one of the reasons you came to this reading, was because with the Page or the Child of Swords reversed, can indicate maybe having a bit of a struggle in this area, trying to figure out, like, well, how do I go about this? I'm kind of confused. It's sort of that energy, okay? All right, and then in the present position, we have more swords. We have another air card, and also the Heart of the Matter, I like to call the central card. And the Heart of the Matter, pile number 1, is kind of what's underlining all of this reading, as well as where you are right now, as I said too. It's like current position. And the Ace of Swords is a new idea. Okay, so remember we were in that stage of, oh my god, I can't figure this out, I'm so confused, what do I do? Especially too if you've been like in the planning stages of, say, like a business, just as one example. That's like that energy. But then here very soon, if not already, because this is the present position, a new idea comes, almost like a gleam of light piercing through the clouds, just like the sword is in this depiction, okay? So we went from pain to exploring things but having some struggles to, here's new energy, and it's very refreshing, okay? Just like a nice breeze on what has been a humid, muggy day of, not speaking from experience where I am, because it's very humid and muggy where I live, but maybe that's where that's coming from, but it's like a fresh breeze after a time of stagnancy is probably a better word to use than humid or muggy, but yeah, similar, right? So a new idea is coming, or you already have a new idea, and you're just about to enact on it, pile number 1, okay? Beautiful. All right, 4th card here is the near future. We have the Page of Cups. All right, we have another child/page, but this time it's upright, and it's in the element of water, so we move from air to water. And water, my friends, is often about our relationships and our emotions, feelings, and our intuitions as well. Okay, that's what that element deals with in cartomancy in general, okay? So the Page of Cups is sometimes traditionally seen as a surprise. The traditional depiction of the Page of Cups, pile 1, is someone literally holding a cup with a fish popping out of it, and that's why it's often ascribed a surprise type meaning, right? So I think something's coming along. This big payoff is something you're completely not expecting. It's going to come completely out of the blue. Okay, you might not really even know. I mean, sure, you'll get this idea here, pile 1, if you haven't gotten it already regarding this project or this thing that you want to pay off, but it's going to manifest in a way that just comes way out of left field. It's a complete 180, a complete universal Uno reverse card, just being like, oh, here you go. Where's this thing? And you're like, oh, holy crap, it's there, right? In a good way, though. It's a positive connotation. And on top of that, the Page of Cups can mean someone who is exploring, just like the Page of Swords was exploring something, but this time they're exploring their feelings and relationships. So it's possible that part of it might sort of come through connections to other people related to whatever this goal is that you have, that you've been waiting for a payoff for. So, maybe exploring social situations, exploring relationships and connections with people in this industry or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, but also internal emotions too. Because that's what the cups often also refers to as well, pile number 1, exploring our feelings, rather than being in the cold, hard logic of things, which cold, hard logic is great sometimes, and I say that as an air sign. I might be biased towards the swords, right? That's great. It's good to think, but you need a balance in life in order for things to be successful. So we see the air, and then we now finally have the element of water coming in, all right? So it'll be less about planning, and it'll be more about, oh man, how do I feel about this? And I think that comes through the surprise. Because oftentimes when surprises pop up in life, pile 1, our first inclination is, how do I feel about this? Like, that's what we have to figure out. It's not so much about, planning. It's more, oh, this thing popped up, and, okay, how do I emotionally react to whatever this is? Okay, so we have that. And then last but not least, we have beautiful, the outcome of the 8 of Wands. Speaking of surprises, we just have a bit of a repetition here, because the 8 of Wands, as you can see, this card is shooting stars. Very fitting metaphor for this card. Things happening quickly. It's going to happen a lot faster than you expect, pile number 1. I guarantee it. Not only is it going to be an Uno reverse card with the surprise of the Page of Cups, it's going to happen real quick with the 8 of Wands, okay? Like a shooting star blazing out through the night. You didn't expect it, and all of a sudden you're looking, and you just happen to glance. There's that shine of light, that little path through, and here comes the payoff, something quickly, okay? It can also mean as the outcome, pile 1, that the payoff itself is something happening faster than you expected. So whatever it is that you're hoping happening, like you hope happens quickly right now, like you're like, come on, universe, get this thing to go my way, right? That is what the payoff is. It's something to do with the timing of something, with the 8 of Wands especially, okay? Though we will see some more details in the other cards. We'll have some oracle cards as well. So anything else? We talked about the elemental connotations. Nothing else earth popped up here, except, of course, like your pile leader with the fox, right? So I think that might have been representative of this all kind of being sort of in the nebulous phase of planning, and then more so the payoff moment is more about the emotional reaction, and then Wands is fire, pile number 1. So that often has to deal with like creativity, ambitions. So it's also a really good sign as an outcome in this, if this is a creative project you want to get off the ground or get noticed or like sell, if it's something along those lines of like selling a piece of art or writing, etc. Because you have fire here. That's the suit of creativity with Wands in tarot. So that bodes even more well in that case for you if this is a creative project. So And I get the sense, too, pile 1, because not only, the cleverness of the fox we talked about, but with all the air cards, you might be an air sign, pile 1, potentially, or you have a lot of air sign placements in your chart. And you are a really, really deep thinker, I think. You're really, really good about coming up with plans. You're really good about things that require, I'll just say it, kind of being a brainiac, right? Very intelligent, right? And I think maybe that's what confounded you so much with the Child of Swords or Page of Swords reverse, because it's like usually things kind of come to you fast, I feel like, but this time it was quite confounding. You're like, I have no idea. And then all of a sudden, like that breath of fresh air I talked about, the Ace of Swords pops forward, boom. New idea. There's a surprise Uno reverse card. Things happen really, really quick. Okay. Almost as if, like I said, a shooting star falling out of the sky, and you're like, where did this come from? I have no idea where this came from, but it's positive, right? So let's look at, I'm actually going to draw your Dream Ritual Oracle next, because I feel like that card or deck is really good about the physical manifestation of things, or like how does it come about physically. So it's more like everyday kind of terms, sort of, most of the cards in the deck. So Spirit, can you tell us more about the payoff, please, for pile 1? Thank you. Okay, we got 2 cards that just flew out. We'll take those. Beautiful. So we have Forgive, and we have Ponder. So, I mean, it's a bit repetitive, pile number 1. We have a card of Thinking, yet again, okay? And as I always say, when a lot of thinking cards come up, that's like, I don't know. I always think of Pooh Bear when he puts his hand to his forehead and he goes, think, 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 right? You've been thinking a lot about this, which I won't repeat too much because we discussed that with the Swords cards, right? And then same thing, too, with the Forgive. I almost wonder, my first intuitive inclination here, pile 1, was that the Three of Swords was related to the Forgive. I almost wonder if... especially if this goal has been around a relationship of some sort, maybe you've been wondering, like, how do I forgive somebody for something, at least in terms of, like, your own healing from it. Okay, maybe that's what the pain was, and this project, quote-unquote, for you has really been not so much finding a relationship or a physical project. It might have been for you more something along the lines of, like, well, how do I heal past this? And if that's your case, pile number 1, a surprise will come along and you'll heal a lot faster than you expect, okay? So Forgive, and then we have the imagery of there's a house on a rock here suspended by the clouds. It's kind of like waiting in suspense because it's like suspended. Some of you might be also waiting back on an answer from somebody on something, and if that's the case, pile 1, like part of the reason why it makes you anxious is because the answer is the payoff. Like maybe some of you are doing like college applications or job applications, things like that. That's the surprise and the sooner than you think as well. With the Page of Cups and the Eight of Wands earlier, you'll get that answer as well, okay? And then Ponder, Thinking, Water under the bridge. That's another metaphor that comes forward, or common saying, I should say. Water under the bridge. I'm going to tap in for one moment here, pile 1 as well, and see what else Spirit wants to say about these 2 particular cards. So please give me just a moment or two here. Let's see. Ponder and Forgive, Spirit. This is really odd, and this might not resonate with every single one of you, pile 1, but there's some message coming through about forgiving yourself. Like, I think this pain here in the beginning, you might have, for some of you, blamed yourself for it, and that's part of what really drove you to achieve recovering from it, or it was almost like a sense of needing to prove yourself. I don't know if maybe you tried an iteration of this earlier and it failed, and so you blamed yourself. So it was like you were really desperate for this thing to have a payoff and like a success of some sort, because it was like, then I'll finally get this proof that I didn't fail the first time. It was just bad luck. Like, you know what I'm trying to get at, pile 1? Because sometimes in life when we attempt something, and it goes haywire, and we're like, oh crap, we had, a Titanic hitting the iceberg moment, right? we tend to blame ourselves, or at least, I think the majority of people do, right? We think, what did I do wrong? Oh my God, how do I make this better next time? Which is great to an extent, right? We want to be able to reflect so we can get better next time. However, sometimes people ruminate a little bit too much on the mistakes. And I think that from what I'm hearing from Spirit Pile 1, a lot of you in this pile tend to do that. You blame yourself a lot. Oh God, I made this mistake. Oh God, like it affected your self-esteem in this area of whatever this project is, or relationships, etc. Career, maybe even too. And it's like, not only is this payoff going to be, getting the tangible thing that you want faster than you expect and in a surprising way, but on top of that, pile 1, it's going to be a payoff of you realizing, I can do this, because you might have failed the first time. Or for some of you, I'm hearing it's not even that you failed. It's like this payoff will be you realizing that the first quote unquote failure, quote, was bad luck rather than your own failure. Okay, does that make sense, pile number 1? It's something along those lines. So the payoff is also a bit of a healing of the heart from whatever this pain was. And I think for most of you, the pain was a feeling of I'm a failure. Okay. So you're also going to get a little bit of emotional healing from this. Let's also look at your... let's go with Woodland Wardens next, pile 1. Anything else you want to say about this, Spirit? The payoff, what's going on here, how it happens. Oh, that was fast. We have the Dragonfly and the Pansy. Beautiful. With the keyword of balance. Yes, bringing things back into balance that we thought they were out of balance before. That's just a gorgeous card in general, isn't it? We have, let's see, balance. Interesting. It's bringing balance back to something that was out of balance. So for some of you, that might be like the comment I had about, that fear of failure, or like you fear that you're a failure, but if it just pays off this time, it'll like reassure yourself that you're not, right? So some of you, it might be like emotional balance coming back into equilibrium is the word I want to use. Anything else? I'm going to ask Spirit on this one too. Spirit's saying balance of funds as well. We didn't get any Pentacles cards, so there hasn't been a lot about career and or money. But I think a lot of you too. Although, okay, Spirit is saying this, pile 1. The payoff in terms of your emotions and your feeling of accomplishment is greater. However, for a lot of you, it's also a payoff of a balance of funds. Not an overwhelming amount of money, I'm hearing, or an overwhelming, like, here's $1 million raise, you know what I mean? Like, that's impossible, probably, right? But you're going to be in maybe a little bit better of a financial situation, at least, too, with this. Especially for those of you where this is not relationship related, and it's more along the lines of, like, a career payoff that you're waiting for, or, like, a business payoff that you're waiting for, okay? Or something that you're trying to sell or start in terms of, like, security and, like, finances, okay? So be on the lookout for balance as well. And then let's look at your final card. We have the Wild Harmonics Oracle. Anything else you want to give them as last advice on this, Spirit? Thank you. There we go. That's the one. And we have Spirit of Dimensional Entering Discovery. Now, this is the one deck I always will bring the guidebook out for, because as I always say whenever it comes up, I apologize for those of you that watch my videos before, bit of an ad nauseum repeat, but for those of you that are new to my videos, this guidebook is probably like the best Oracle guidebook I've ever had in my entire life, so I do like to read from it. So we have Spirit of Dimensional. I believe I just passed it up. Forgive me. There we go. Yes, I did. Okay. Found it quick, though. Entering Discovery. Spirit of Dimensional. As the spirit of creativity. Okay, so we have a little bit of a message there for those of you that this is a creative project, but in general, right? As the spirit of creativity ascends into the dimensional expanse, the mystery reveals itself to itself one moment at a time. Curiosity, playfulness, and the inherent gratefulness of a life lived in awareness. This card is the invitation to heal myself of the narratives, aka, I'm a failure. As I was saying, this is just emphasizing that pile number 1 from what I was picking up on earlier. Let's see. Yeah, this card is the invitation to heal myself of the narratives which entrain me away from the recognition of the truth of my being. It is a return to wonder, exploration, and inherent appreciation. As I balance, align, unpack, and remember, heal. So that's another maybe a like health care field related thing for some of you, as well as like healing from whatever that pain was. Okay. As I balance, align, unpack, heal, reconcile, secure, and otherwise attend to the denied parts of my being, I find tremendous energy freed up that naturally wants to rest in the dynamic unfolding of this present moment. And the inquiry or the question to ask yourself is, what is it I am discovering right now about myself, others, and or life? And then I'll add in general. Okay. What am I discovering right now about myself, others, and life? Okay. Beautiful. So that's, I think, reflective of the payoff that I mentioned before, pile 1, where it is a tangible thing coming your way. Don't get me wrong. But the payoff is really more a discovery about yourself in some way. And as I said, I think that discovery, pile number 1, is to let go of a narrative that you've had in your mind that's been holding you back, aka the I am a failure that I picked up on earlier from when I was asking spirit if like intuitive messages, right? But some of you, it might be a little bit different. So any, I don't know, narrative you tell yourself, pile 1, such as, I don't know, I suck at relationships, or let's see, I am bad at my job, or whatever it is that you tell yourself that holds yourself back. This payoff is going to help heal you in a way of providing you insight into, well, maybe that narrative I've been telling myself is wrong. So that's what I said before, with the emphasis on, yes, this is a physical payoff, but the emotional heart healing payoff of whatever this is a lot more beneficial to you in the long run than, say, balancing of finances is great. We all need money to survive. Don't get me wrong, okay? And physically manifesting, maybe a promotion or, a career bump or, a successful business. Those things are great, but those are the fires of life. And what this payoff is something that is fuel for fire. I know that's kind of a weird metaphor, but it's basically what I'm trying to say, pile 1. Something that's going to feed your soul, that will help you immeasurably beyond just this project, okay? So each project in life, imagine, is a fire. And this payoff is going to be like an eternal piece of tinder that you can use to spark confidence in projects along the way in the future as well. Okay, so I almost see you too as the payoff of entering a new phase of life with reinvigorated confidence in yourself because of this payoff. So be on the lookout for it. It's going to be a bit of a surprise. It's going to happen faster than you think. And there are a lot of, it seems like, blessings of abundance, but as well as emotional healing coming for you. So that is your reading for today, my wonderful pile number 1. As always, I hope it was helpful for you. That's what I care about most, but also that you liked it and it resonated with your own story. And if so, please like the video, please comment down below, and please subscribe if you have not done so already. As I always say, that just helps me out a tiny bit, just a tiny button click for you, which helps me immeasurably with keeping the dream of this channel alive. And as is our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 1. Hello there, my beautiful pile number 2. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about a big payoff coming your way, of course, based on effort that you've already put in. And as you recall, you were drawn to the gorgeous card of Wish with the Witch and the Crow as your pile leader today. Now, the first intuitive message I'm hearing with Wish for you, pile 2, is this big payoff is related to something that you've been dreaming about for a very long time. I almost get the sense that a lot of you felt that it was out of your reach. I feel like a lot of you maybe got distracted in life along the way in terms of, like security was most important to you, of course, right? So maybe you chose a career path that was maybe not your favorite thing to do, but it provided a lot more like financial stability than had you like gone with maybe this particular wish, at least at first, right? Or this dream or goal of yours. But I think despite that distraction from the wish or the dream that you have, like I said, be it, maybe financial security, or it could also have been too that you were kind of distracted by a lack of belief in self, that too. Because sometimes really what impacts our ability to achieve our wishes is our own limiting beliefs in the way. So that could have also kind of diverted you from this path, but it almost feels like this inevitability I'm hearing, that's the word Spirit is using, that you're supposed to meet this eventually anyways, no matter how many times you might wend off the path due to a different career choice, or you wend off the path because of a lack of confidence in yourself in attaining whatever this is. And that's the payoff coming, is this wish in some way, okay? So although this reading is technically about something that's going to pay off that you've been putting work into, I think the work that you've been putting into whatever this is, pile 2, is more in terms of energy of dreaming, of maybe even fantasizing about whatever this is. It's energy of being very loyal to it in your heart, even if you couldn't tangibly follow it on the side quite yet, or even follow it as your main thing, of course, yet. But something's coming that's going to help you get to this. It almost feels like what I call a tentpole moment in tarot. And a tentpole moment in our life is a moment that, yes, we have free will, but at least in my personal belief, we have certain set paths we're supposed to walk with a tentpole along the way of, okay, this is kind of a waypoint, right? It's kind of a, use video game terms, it's kind of like a save checkpoint, okay? A checkpoint, right? Good word to use. And this is a checkpoint for you, pile 2. Okay, so let's look at your tarot spread to get more details on what this is. I'm very curious myself, and it'll also tell us more about what the payoff really is, right? What are you getting from this outside of the, well, being able to attain the wish that you had, right? So Spirit, for their highest best good for pile 2. More context, please. Okay, let's draw 5 cards for you today, pile 2. And let's unveil the cards together. So, first we speak of the inciting incident. This is kind of what sparked all of this. And we received the 8 of Swords. Remember what I was just telling you, pile 2, is like, I feel like you weren't able to really go after whatever this was. And this is just reiterated here because the 8 of Swords is a card of being trapped. It's a card of, you know, being stuck in one place. And especially, there's a bit of a caveat here, asterisk. The 8 of Swords often is something that we mentally trap ourselves in, not something that we could get out of if we believed that we could. Because remember what I said in the beginning here, pile 2. I feel like some of you, yes, you had to maybe go for something of greater stability, especially if this is like career-oriented for you. Money was maybe a bit more of a worry, and that's why you got diverted from this wish or this dream. But then I said, remember, some of you, this is a confidence thing. This is a limiting belief of, I don't think I'm good enough for that, so I'm just going to go the other easier route, or easier at least in terms of not having to face that fear of failure, or not having to face that fear stemming from a lack of confidence, right? Because the 8 of Swords, like I said, oftentimes we can get out of that mental trap if we believe we can. Otherwise, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of being stuck in one place. So that is just a synchronicity there from what I was picking on, or up on intuitively for you, pile 2. This all stems from, especially being the inciting incident card, what started it all, is a feeling of being trapped. Trapped in the chains of the need for financial security, and or your own belief in yourself, or lack of it, I should say. Okay, so. But even if you don't believe that you're good enough, sometimes Spirit throws things your way. They're like, well, you think you're not good enough, but here, we're just going to throw you in the deep end, and here it is. Now deal with it. It's a good thing, okay? But, yeah, we'll see. That came off as more scary than I expected. I didn't mean it in a scary way. Okay, and then we have the 10 of Wands. However, things have becoming a burden. The 10 of Wands is all about heavy weights on our backs, things that are too much for us to shoulder. Maybe that was to, being the recent past card here as the second position card. Maybe part of what is drawing you away from the quote-unquote secure path that you were on, or the fear of going after it, is what you're dealing with in life right now is a feeling of, I am overburdened, I am burnt out, I can't handle the job I have right now or the career that I chose. It's too much for me. I can't handle it anymore. It's becoming to the point of the burden of it outweighing the benefit of financial security and or outweighing your own fear of failure and or lack of confidence in yourself, okay? So that's the work that you've been putting into it, pile 2. Into this dream or this wish is the mental anguish of burden, which it feels like it's not an active thing, but it is, okay? It's an active work of, well, at first, suppressing our desires, right? Because we think we're not good enough for them, or we think, oh, well, that's not, that desire is silly, right? That's the things we tell ourselves, right? But then it just becomes too much. Denying our dream becomes too much of a burden to bear. And then it clicks for us. Oh, maybe that was the path I should have taken. Okay. Let's look at the Heart of the Matter card as well as your present position. We have the Explorer of Wands, which is the Knight of Wands. And he is all about being a fire card. Creativity, passion, and ambitions. Okay. So pile 2. I have a feeling that most of you are already at the point of saying, screw the old thing, I can't stand it anymore, hence the 10 of Wands, because it's a burden on you. I'm going to do it anyways. Or you're almost at that point if you haven't already done that, okay? So for some of you coming to this reading, you'll be like, oh, well, I already let go of the old thing and I'm trying the new thing. Some of you are coming to this reading and this thing is getting really overbearing and you're considering it, and this might be a sign to you, pile 2, that yes, try the dream or the wish that you had that you've been denying, okay? Because the Knight of Wands, what he does is he takes actions on his passions and his ambitions and the things that make him feel alive, okay? A Knight of Wands wouldn't stay in a job he absolutely hates. A Knight of Wands would not stay in a place that makes them feel overburdened and burnt out, okay? There is a warning a little bit. Sometimes he's a bit impulsive, but you didn't get him in reverse, so it's a lot of his energy in the positive way. He is a knight that when he feels deeply impassioned by something, he goes after it. And that's like you right now. I almost feel like this is, because the court cards in tarot can often represent people, pile 2. This is you right now. You're a Knight of Wands at this moment, or you're soon to step into that role. Okay? Interesting. Well, good for you. Those of you that have chosen this path, good for you. This is also Spirit patting you on the back for doing it. Okay? No one deserves to have to work a job that they absolutely hate, or to put their dreams on the back burner and their wishes on the back burner, or feel like they're not good enough, okay? Go after your dreams. Go after your ambitions. Beautiful. And then in the near future card, we have the Empress. And the Empress is a really good sign, especially for those of you who are, this dream of yours is related to creativity. She is the feminine energy card. She is the card of motherhood or birthing things into the world, be it, a literal child sometimes, but sometimes also a project, right? It's the energy of being the portal through which the universe manifests things through your hands and your mind, okay? So it's a really good time here in the near future for fruitfulness based on this dream or this wish that you have. So for those of you that haven't taken action yet, this is the perfect time for you to do so, because you're entering a new phase here soon that would be really, really good about getting things off the ground and quote-unquote birthing new things. Okay? Beautiful. It's also a time of abundance. It's also a good sign for those of you that might be trying to start a business or something to do with like a beauty career, or it could be something to do with like nurturing people, a career change to like healthcare or taking care of children or something along those lines. Something that's very nurturing and kind of feminine energy and role. That's a great sign as well. And then last but not least is the outcome. We have the 3 of Wands. Look at all this fire energy, pile number 2. Some of you might actually be fire signs, or you just have a lot of fire placement in your charts. And the 3 of Wands, my wonderful pile 2, is all about being able to finally take action on our plans. You've had this dream and this wish for so dang long. I guarantee it, pile number 2. I called you 3 because I was looking at the 3 of Wands. Derp. Okay. You've been waiting for this wish or this dream for so dang long, pile 2. I feel like, as I said at the beginning, I think a lot of you, this is something you've been dreaming about since you were even a kid, or just for many years at least, if not childhood. but you've been so trapped for so long in this feeling of, oh, I can't do it, oh, that's stupid, or, it could have even been pile 2 that other people discredited your dreams too, and maybe they encourage you more, like maybe they dealt with a lot of fear of, failure, or they dealt with a lot of fear of insecurity when it comes to material things, which, is understandable. We all need to survive and have, something to keep the rain out of our soup, right? You need a roof over your head. Those are good things, but especially when we come to a time of stability and we still don't enact on our dreams, then it becomes at that point like, well, what is the excuse, right? You have the stability you're looking for. This is the perfect opportunity. And like I said, with that Empress in the near future, this is the perfect opportunity, okay? But as I was saying, other people might have impressed that upon you too. Maybe it was even parents that discouraged this wish or this dream when you were younger. But I'm telling you, especially if you enact on it soon, pile 2, it's a good time of fruition, and the 3 of Wands is all about finally being able to take those plans and put them into practice, okay? Forward momentum, making progress. It's a pathway, literally, with the 3 wands guiding the way. And in general, too, creative projects are going to be very fruitful during this time because you have so many fire or wands cards in your spread. And 2, the Empress, even though she's technically an earth energy card, she literally is the card of creation. So creativity, okay? So for those of you that are creative and this dream is related to a creative project of yours or a dream, this is the time. This is that 10-pole moment I was telling you about. This is the perfect gateway for you to walk through and try to bring this to fruition. So what I want to say to you, pile 2, because this has been kind of sort of a pep talk reading, as well as a, what's led up to this. To technically tell you what the payoff is an opportunity for you to go forward with the dream that you or wish that you've had. So the payoff isn't necessarily the dream or the wish paying off quite yet. There's still work to be done after this phase. But it's a really good time after all this struggle that you've been pouring, sweat and tears into, probably even literally tears sometimes, especially if you've been suffering with that 10 of Wands energy. That isn't fun. Also, the 8 of Swords is like being trapped. That's not fun either. Feeling stuck, feeling overburdened. Not a good 2 blend of emotions to have to deal with all the time, right? It's going to release if you let it. You'll be able to manifest it if you let it. And you're right at the gateway for the perfect time. Okay, so if there is a dream or wish that you've been working on for a long time or like you've been hoping for, here's your gateway, here's your plane, take off. Okay, now let's look at some of your oracle cards. We'll see some more details about what this is or advice, as well as maybe what the payoff also is on top of, an opportunity to go forward, right? Spirit, anything else you want to say to pile 2 about this? Thank you. Right there. We have freedom. Look at that, pile 2. Remember that trap feeling we had there with the 8 of Swords? Now we have a card of the exact opposite energy, which is freedom. I am free. I'm not stuck here anymore. I'm able to fly. Look at my hot air balloon, which hot air balloons are powered by fire, right? All that creativity, all that passion, all the wands cards that you have, which are fire, that is what's going to set you free. So if you're feeling extra stuck right now, pile 2, if you feel like life keeps putting you in a jail in terms of like your soul, in terms of what you really want, the answer is to light fire in terms of what you are actually passionate about and what you actually want to do in your creativity, your ambitions. Okay, that's what will set you free. So maybe really the payoff here, pile 3, or I'm sorry, I keep calling you pile 3 for some reason. Maybe some of you are also drawn to pile 3. Pile 2, duh. Okay, the payoff might also be freedom in some way. Okay, not just, okay, here's your ticket, go forth and create, right? It's also, we're going to free you from this prison. Or, well, you'll free yourself, I think, kind of is what I'm seeing here. Okay, beautiful. And then let's look at your Woodland Warden's Oracle. Anything else, Spirit, for pile 2 today that I keep accidentally calling pile 3? Well, you also have a lot of the number 3 in your reading today, pile 2. You have the Empress, which is the 3rd card of the Major Arcana, and the 3 of Wands. Right. So you might be seeing a lot of synchronicities around the number 3. Especially, too, if you're looking for signs of a perfect time to really go forward with this dream. 3rd days of the month might be a good time, or dates with the number 3 in them. like 13th, I'm hearing for some of you, 23rd. And then we have the Hound and the Pair with Loyalty, White Dog. Defending what we care about. That's what loyalty is, right? And this specific card in the guidebook talks about the reason why the Hound is associated with loyalty, other than, we of course think of dogs as man's best friend, right? Is there's a story about a young baby that was the son of a lord, I believe. And the dog was a defender of the baby. So when we talk about the baby, what I really mean is to extrapolate that to the dream that you're trying to birth here through the energy of the Empress, right? So it's almost like, Pile 2, you having to be the loyal dog to the dream or the baby, quote unquote, that you're working on, the thing that you're trying to birth into the world. So be loyal to it, okay? Don't stray from it. No matter what things come your way in terms of, maybe someone tries to give you like, oh, I don't think that'll work out, that kind of crappy advice that doesn't help anybody. Which, here's the thing. Sometimes people say that out of caring for you. They think, oh, I would never do that, something that drastic or, intense, or make a life change that intense. Or sometimes people say it out of like they have a fear of like material security too, or like they play life really safe, right? And so they say it out of terms of like, oh, I care for you. Sometimes it really does come from a good place, Pile 2, but sometimes it doesn't come from a good place either. But in either case, like, you're the navigator of your life, Pile 2. You have to stay loyal to your own dreams and what you want, not what everybody else wants for you, okay? So be the best friend to yourself in this area with this dream, even if it feels like you're standing alone, okay? Now let's look at your Wild Harmonics Oracle. That'll be the final card for today. And this deck I always like to read from the guidebook with, because it's very, very helpful. One of the few decks I do read from the guidebook with readings, but let's see. Anything else, Spirit, for Pile 2? Right there. Bet you it's going to be a fire card. Maybe not. I could be wrong. I am completely incorrect. It is Air of Air, Chaotic Return. Okay. We have a bit of air, although air is also associated with freedom here, like the hot air balloon. Also the crows we had earlier, and then the hawk, I believe that is, or it could be a golden eagle as well in the Empress. So also you might see some synchronicities around bird symbolism, Pile 2, with this dream of yours. Birds, fire, the number 3. Let's see, anything else while I look for the entry in the guidebook. Any other synchronicities here? Also, feminine energy symbols, because we did have the moon here in Wish as well as the Empress. Let's see, Air of Air. Chaotic Return. Okay. Air of Air, Chaotic Return. As the interconnected intelligence meets itself, the impossible is realized. Leaps of logic, quantum jumps, unlikely shifts in perspective/approach, in the unconditional allowance of everything as it is. A card calls me into the deepest mysteries of the interconnectedness of all things. It is at once a defiance of reason and a nurturing of true knowing. Opening the heart is opening to the radical. If I have ideas about what it means to have an open heart, they are shattered as I find my own way. So don't follow other people's paths. Remember what I was telling you. You got to go your own path. Okay. What leads from one thing to another is but a temporary alignment, and the absurd is smiling behind it all, just waiting its turn to play at being the rational. And the inquiry or question to ask yourself is, what am I keeping myself from doing because it seems irrational? Oh my God, Pile 2. I'm sorry it's so repetitive, but this is just what I've been talking about the whole entire time. How fitting that this card came out, even though I thought maybe it'll be a fiery card because you got so many. But this is perfectly fitting. Yep. What am I keeping myself from doing because it seems irrational, even though I sense it will be worthwhile? If you needed any other confirmation, Pile 2, today, to please go forward with this wish or this dream, this card is it. Literally, everything I was just saying, and you saw me shuffle. You saw that card come out after I already was picking up on all that stuff from the other cards, right? That is Spirit saying, please, do not deny your dream or your wish any longer. Now is the perfect time to launch whatever this is, okay? So Pile 2, I want you to promise me that if you have a wish or a dream that you've had for a very long time. And if you are in any way doubting yourself or the dream or the wish, Spirit is saying, please, promise Spirit too, not just me, please give it a chance anyways. Okay? Remember what that guidebook said about the question to ask yourself. Even if it seems irrational. Well, I guess I can't, well, what is the, I could look at the guidebook again, but you know what I was trying to say here. I'll keep talking while I look for it. But that's what yeah, exactly. It was reiterating everything I said, pile 2, okay? Let's see, where did it go? Air of air. Yeah, what am I keeping myself from doing because it seems irrational, even though I sense it will be worthwhile? Who cares about irrationality, pile 2? If it's worthwhile to you, do the most irrational thing anyways. Okay? Please follow this. Please know that it'll work out. Please. Okay? So that's kind of a pep talk reading today, really what it was. So the payoff for you, pile 2, is, as I said before, you're getting to the perfect gateway for the wish or the dream that you have. That's the payoff of the suffering you've been through with the burden, the burnout, feeling trapped, feeling stuck, feeling unhappy. So don't squander the payoff. Don't deny it just because you think it's irrational or that you feel like you weren't good enough. Please take that payoff. Okay? And as I said in the very beginning of the reading, it almost feels like a tentpole moment in your life, pile 2. So even if you try to deny it again, Spirit will keep throwing it right in your face. Here's another opportunity for you to do this thing that you always wanted to do, but you keep saying that you don't want to do or pretend that you don't want to do. Spirit has a way sometimes, pile 2. Sometimes Spirit says, you're going to do it anyways. And I think deep down you want to. It's just you have to believe in yourself, pile 2. I know it's cliche, but I swear to God, please believe in yourself with whatever this is, okay? And that is your reading for today, my wonderful pile 2s, not my pile 3s that I kept calling you. All right, so I hope most of all that this reading was helpful to you. That's what I care about most. But of course, also that you liked it and it resonated. And if so, please like the video itself. Please, please, please comment down below or subscribe if you have not done so already. And as we always say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 2. Hello there, my wonderful pile number 3. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about a big payoff coming your way based on something that you've been working hard on or dreaming about. And as you recall, you were drawn to the beautiful card of Enchanted with the Fae being and the black cat for your pile leader today. Now, what I am hearing in terms of intuition with this card is I feel like the payoff is related to a general sense of, what's the best word to use? I don't want to say that there's been, great, all-encompassing sorrow in your life recently, but I think you've been going through a period of time, pile 3, that has been a general kind of, sort of feeling. That's kind of the best way I just can describe it. Maybe that's a bit vague, but, you ever have those periods of time in life, pile 3, where it's there's nothing major happens that's really bad, but at the same time, it almost feels like there's nothing going right, or everything always kind of feels like there's a tiny little wrench in it, or it almost feels like nothing really good happens either. It's kind of that plateau of there's so many bads that outweigh the goods that everything kind of feels, it's like meh. That's what I'm feeling for you right now, pile 3. So, to link that back to the topic at hand, and then I kind of explain that context with the message. I think this big payoff is something that's going to bring a little bit of vibrancy back to your life. It's going to bring that plateau of meh or into a period of time where you're going to feel more highs. Okay. Now that's a bit open-ended. I don't hear so much specifically yet about exactly what the big payoff is. And of course, this being a general reading, some of you are going to be maybe a bit different as to what it precisely is. We will see that with the tarot spread. That'll give us more context. But in general, if you have been recently going through a time of plateau of it's okay, but it's not the best time of my life either because, there's just as many bads outweighing the goods. This payoff is a sign of that being on the mend towards more victories, more successes, and a higher plateau in life rather than the kind of low plateau that you've been on, okay? It's to use a metaphor, you've been in a valley, moseying along, whatever, I guess I'm not dead, or I'm not, I'm surviving, right? But then all of a sudden you see this rise, and you're like, oh, okay, now I'm climbing a bit of a mountain here. It's going to get a little bit better, okay? Or maybe even immensely better. We'll see what the tarot cards say. So that's what I'm hearing intuitively from Spirit for you for this payoff. But of course, we'll see the context, as I said, with tarot. Let's grab those cards right now. Speaking of. So, Spirit, anything else you want to say to pile 3 about this bit of a mountain, finally? A little bit of a rise after a time of just plateau. Thank you. Anything you want to say about that? Where is it going? We'll also kind of maybe see where it stemmed from, too, pile 3. Right there? Okay, thank you. Beautiful. Okay, so the first card from tarot today for you, pile 3, is the World Reversed. Interesting. As the inciting incident card, especially because typically the world is about endings, and being the first card, ending, first spot, we're asking kind of like, well, what started this general feeling, right? So the World Reversed in this position, pile 3, tells me that I think you were expecting something to end a lot faster than it has. The World Reversed can mean I'm waiting for the curtain call, I'm waiting for, the credits to roll on whatever this phase of my life is, or waiting for the credits to roll on some sort of thing that you've been, in general, it could just be this plateau that you've been waiting to end. You're like, oh man, when are things going to get better, right? And it being reversed is the universe kind of saying, this chapter isn't quite done yet. And sometimes, pile 3, of course, as we all know, that can create a sense of frustration in us. It can create a sense of impatience. It can create a sense of pressure and anxiety as well, because, sometimes we take it personal. Sometimes we look at it and we're like, man, am I causing this thing to delay or like to drag on for so dang long? Or sometimes we feel like, oh man, the universe is just not throwing us a bone. Why won't it end this thing that I wanted to end so bad? Okay, so that's the energy that started all of this, is what I'm feeling. So honestly, the plateau might be, pile 3, more so not necessarily a lot of like really bad things, as I was saying before, but it could potentially be like you wanted something to end a lot faster than it did, and it didn't. And so you're sitting there looking at your watch like, universe, okay, we're past, we gotta roll the credits here, and it's not, right? Okay, so let's look at the recent past. We have the Guardian of Swords, and the Guardian of Swords is the Queen of Swords in most decks, right? So the Guardian of Swords, Queen of Swords, can represent a time of having to kind of move through life a bit more coldly. And when I say coldly in this context, what I mean is kind of just going through the paces, kind of just going through what we're supposed to do. A Queen of Swords, too, can be someone that has had to be tough, right? Especially mentally, because the sword suit in tarot, pile 3, is all about the mind. It's about our logic, our communication. It's about the things that we say, the things that we think, right? And so this time of extended, not only do we see the imagery of winter here with the swords, right? Which, of course, we think of the terms of winter as a time of stagnancy, a time of things being kind of cold. Not a lot of things are going on, at least that we can generally perceive, like we do in, say, the spring when everything is coming back to life, or the autumn when everything is just kind of settling down for the year. There's just not a lot of activity. So that kind of represents that plateau feeling I was talking about. But also, with the Queen of Swords, it can represent you having to be kind of, I guess I want to say it's, when I say lifeless, I don't mean in terms, maybe you have felt kind of lifeless. Maybe that is really what's coming through pile 3, but it can also mean too, you having to feel like you've just got to be tough. You're like, oh man, I just got to tough this out. I just got to keep going. I got to keep marching through this winter of my soul, so to speak. So Spirit is praising you for this, pile 3, number 1. They want to say, pile 3, we understand what you've been going through. We understand that things have been delayed or stagnant, and you've been tough for that. And we thank you for putting up with this period of time in your life where you've been feeling kind of like, oh man, nothing's working out. Or it could also be a sense too of like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's another phrase to use for the stagnancy I was kind of picking up on that I'm hearing. So you're tough for that, pile 3. You've been doing good. You've been dealing with it as best as anyone can. So also feel more confident in yourself, especially if maybe you felt like you've lost a little bit of your verve for life, at least in terms of your excitement, okay? So don't blame yourself for that, pile 3. That's very natural after having gone through something like this. All right. So no wonder why you're having to pay off, because look at what you've been doing so far. Ooh, that's been tough. And then we have the Explorer, or the Knight of Swords. Okay. And I want to tell you this, pile 3. The Knight of Swords is the fastest knight in all of tarot, of the 4 different knights with the 4 different suits or elements, okay? The Knight of Swords is the one that charges forward. Action occurs. The winter, that the stagnancy that we've been feeling finally melts. It goes away, and then boom, we have speed, okay? So if not already at the time that you're watching this reading, then very soon, because this is the present position card, you're going to be able to take action and make that forward momentum and progress that was lacking before, or that you weren't able to do before, okay? Remember I said that metaphor of you've been kind of in the valley, and then finally, you're in the valley with these 2 cards, and then finally it starts rising up here a little bit. That's that Knight of Swords. You can take action, and especially being swords, it's action with the things that we've been thinking, with our ideas. Okay, also communication. Maybe you've been kind of delaying or waiting to talk to somebody about something, or maybe the delay has been you've been waiting to hear back on something and you've heard complete radio silence. Well, that means action is going to be taken in those areas here very soon, if not now. Okay, so that's part of the payoff coming. Let's look at the near future card. We have the Chariot reversed. Okay, and in a reading like this, when we're asking what's going to pay off, it's kind of like a blessing reading, pile 3. So reversals I see in future positions as the things that are going to shift. And I apologize, this is going to be a bit repetitive, but it's also a blessing in terms that it's another reconfirmation from Spirit with this card that things are going to open up. Because remember, we saw the stagnancy here with the Guardian, or the Queen of Swords. Like winter, and then it starts to thaw, and then what happens after the thaw? Well, there comes the river, there comes the water, things are flowing again, and that's what the Chariot typically means, pile 3, is forward momentum, having control over things again. It's about having like things moving along speedily. So not only do you have the Knight of Swords, which is a fast card, you have the Chariot reversed, which, as I said, is like what I see is what's going to improve here because of the position that it's in. Things are going to feel like they're under your control and moving fast again, moving forward. All right. And then the outcome. Beautiful. Look at all these swords cards you have, pile number 3. Some of you might be an air sign, if not have a lot of air sign placements in your chart. Because you just have so many dang swords. Also, I think the Queen of Swords is you earlier, but the Ten of Swords reversed is an outcome of, so a bit of a flip side of the Chariot, because this is typically like a negative card upright. And as I said, when I read a blessing reading like this, it's like this is what's going to improve, right? The Ten of Swords is usually a card of feeling like we're at the end of something. It's just like the tree's life cut short, having been chopped down, right? Not only chopped down, but the swords are piercing it. We thought it was dead. We thought that this wasn't ever going to come to fruition again. It'll never grow again. Sometimes, too, the Ten of Swords can represent a betrayal, another traditional interpretation of it, pile 3. So maybe part of this has been like a relationship with somebody that you feel like has betrayed you, and like the after effects, or like what you're trying to feel or bring to an improvement after that has been kind of stagnant. Maybe that's what's been so slow, is maybe even your own internal recovery from the betrayal. Like maybe you're like, oh man, I feel like I should be over this by this point, or like you're kind of waiting for the after effects of like the loose ends to tie up from whatever that betrayal was, if that is your case. Some of you, it might not be a betrayal, it might be more along the lines of the Ten of Swords, meaning like, oh, something is at its end, right? Something kind of like got finished, okay? But that's what's going to mend here, pile 3, okay? Especially because these are the 2 future cards here. So things are going to open up with the Chariot. They're going to move a lot faster. Things are going to go a lot smoother. You're going to see that uptick, remember, in momentum I talked about with the valley to the mountain. And then it's odd, because you think... How do I word this, pile 3? This is the odd thing. In the beginning with the world reversed, you were waiting for something to end and it didn't. And then at the very end here, the blessing or the payoff is something you thought that was going to end does not. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition here of I want it I want it to end, but it's not. And like I said at the end here, I thought it was dead or it ended, but it isn't. Okay, so it's almost a mental shift, I think, too, of you going from wanting to leave something in the past to, I don't know, I'm going to ask Spirit an intuitive message right here with that Ten of Swords. Because that's a really cool symbolic reflection there with those two cards at the end and the beginning. One moment, pile 3, apologies. They're saying something like a return to what was, and that's why it's like a reflection. It's like whatever was making you want this to end, but it was drawing on for too long. The reason why you wanted it to end, like what you were seeking when you wanted it to come to a finality, pile 3, is what you're attaining in the end in a positive way. I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little bit, maybe the way I worded it isn't the most correct or the most clear, but it's like, I mean, as I said, it's the keyword of the return, like returning to what was before. It's almost like, I wonder if you were in a lot better place before this valley, pile 3. Like, things were going all hunky-dory, everything's okay, and then boom, the valley came, and you're like, oh man, I'm in this trench, this is annoying, and then, so it's almost like pile 3, not necessarily you coming to a new higher plateau of happiness in like a mountain. It's almost like you find, like, somehow rerouting back to the happiness and the standard of life that you had before you got into this valley. I think that's why they're mentioning the return here, pile 3. That's why it's such a prominent keyword coming forward from you, from Spirit. Okay, so whatever you had before is kind of the payoff that's coming back to you. So it's not something new, but it's something that you didn't think you could ever return to in terms of like quality of life or like standard of living, or it's like a return to form. It's almost like in the I'm going to use a literary metaphor because I like to use those in my readings, pile number 3. You know, when you read a story, there's a typical, what they call the monomyth. So oftentimes in Western literature, it's kind of a similar, hero starts out in the adventure, and then things ramp up in tension, and then there's the climax. They defeat the bad villain or whatever they're trying to achieve, and then there's the denouement at the end, which is, things calm down again after they've achieved what they were setting out to do, okay? And I apologize that I'm rambling a bit about literary things, but I promise this will pay off in your reading, okay? So it's like you, pile 3, as the hero, already having gone on this adventure, and things were going really dang great. And literally, even when you talk about the monomyth, when you plot this out on a literary chart, it literally looks like a valley going up to a mountain. How fitting that I picked up on that earlier. You're the hero going on the adventure, going up this mountain. Things are going great. Then you, of course, have some trials, like all heroes do. And then they tend to get to what's called the dark night of the soul. At the dark night of the soul, it almost feels like the villain won. I think you already got past that point of, like, the lowest low. And this phase here that you wanted to end was you trying to return home. Because that's what often happens after a hero succeeds when they defeat the big bad or whatever they're trying to attain. They return home. It's called the return to home. And that's the closing chapter. That's usually the world upright. But you got it reversed in the beginning here, pile 3. Remember? And so you're like, hey, I went on this adventure. Where's my return to home? And then you were stuck in that plateau of, well, at least you're not fighting the big bad villain anymore. So that's great. But you're also not returning home, and there's no feeling of victory quite yet, okay? So finally, you're getting that return home. Back to the happiness you had at the very beginning. To use a book metaphor, let's talk about, like, I don't want to use The Hobbit because, I mean, technically at the end, Bilbo and, well, even Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, they were very changed afterwards. What's a good example? I'll use Frozen from Disney because I think everybody in the world has probably watched that movie at this point. Okay, so in the very beginning of the story, you have Elsa and Anna, and things are, well, under the surface not so great, but they're okay, right? They seemingly have a good relationship as siblings, kind of, at least, but it's, of course, they had that separation. We all know that. But at least it was manageable, right? They were at that plateau. And then, through some conflict, they defeat the big bad, which is not really an external villain so much other than, of course, Hans, right? And then at the end, they return home to Arendelle. And it's like a return back to the way things were, but in an even better way than it was before. Because now they understand each other. Now there's not that separation between the sisters anymore. So that's what I'm saying, pile 3. The roundabout literary example, right? Or, media example in general. Is you're returning to something not only the way it was before, like Elsa and Anna being at home, but even better. Because now the gates are open. Now they have a positive sister relationship. And, all the other happy stuff that happens at the end of Disney movies, right? Of course, because, Disney. But that's what I'm seeing for you. So I would expect it even to be better than it was before. Okay? Your return is even more glorious than the way you left it. Okay? So let's look at your oracle cards as well. We have some extra messages there. Maybe some advice with this. So to summarize, pile 3, your payoff is, a return to happiness. If I had to summarize it in one phrase. A return to happiness. Okay, Spirit says record, or it could also be record. And I was just talking about stories. And then we have literally an ink pot and a quill. How fitting. I wonder if a lot of you do resonate a lot with, maybe a lot of you are really big readers, or you really like stories in terms of like movies or video games too, right? Any media that requires storytelling. Record. I don't usually do this pile 3. I'm going to draw one more tarot card on that one, because that could mean a lot of different things. Spirit, what exactly do you mean with record? Right there. The Ace of Swords. Well, speaking of writing stories and ideas, the Ace of Swords is a new idea. And you have another Swords card yet again. I don't know, air energy all around here, even with the feather too, right? I think part of what gets you back to the happier beginning, or even better than it was at the beginning before you hit this plateau, pile 3, is a new idea comes forward. A new idea comes forward in terms of, some of you, this could have been like writer's block. Maybe that's why all the writing metaphors have been coming through. It also is a new idea that I think I'm hearing. It's something about rewriting the record. I almost wonder too if you feared a reputation hit from this, especially for those of you where there was a betrayal involved. Like you feared a bit, like a reputation hit, but it's like it rewrites the record. There's a new idea in that area. It's like rewriting the story to where you're no longer the villain, but you're the hero. Or you feared you'd come off as a villain, but it's like it's better than you expect because people understand your side of the story more. Maybe that's why story metaphors have been coming out so prominently. I mean, kind of like Elsa in Frozen, speaking of. I mean, people kind of saw her, except her sister, of course. She understood her, right? But people kind of saw her as the villain. They're like, well, you froze Arendelle. What the heck are you doing? Are you an evil witch or whatever? It's been a while since I watched the movie, but you know what I mean? But she wasn't the villain, really. There was no villain in the end other than, I guess, Hans, right? He was kind of a side villain, but it's like rewriting the story, rewriting who you are, rewriting also to who you thought you were. I think you're also going to find an invigoration of confidence in self as well. Pile 3. Beautiful. Let's look at your other oracle cards too that might provide some more context. Okay. Oh, that deck did just not want to shuffle. We'll try that again. I'm going to try it this way. There we go. Okay. Some decks you shuffle like sideways, some decks you have to kind of shuffle side by side, so. And we received, looks like the mouse and the buttercup. And pile 3, this is the 0 card in this deck, which is similar to the Fool in Tarot, hence the Innocence message, which is literally the start of a hero's journey. Speaking of the hero's journey yet again, or the monomyth as I called it earlier, it's a return to the beginning, hence the innocence. I swear to God, there's so many synchronicities in this reading. And when I see that pile 3, it's just a reconfirmation to me as the reader that what I've been picking up on intuitively, well, A, is correct, but also B, that Spirit is really emphasizing certain things. It's almost like a fresh slate, too. That's, what we think of when we think of innocence, as a fresh slate. Let's draw your Wild Harmonics card to you too. Oh, well, it didn't even have to draw it. It just flew out. We'll see if you get an air card, because you have a lot of swords. I don't know. You received, Dimensional of Dimensional with Deeper Self. Look at that little star point of light. In this deck, as I always do, I read from the guidebook, one of the very few decks that I do with readings like this, but this guidebook is, amazing, number one. And so I like to read from it because I feel like it's very helpful for my viewers here. So Dimensional of Dimensional Deeper Self, I'll read that for you. As the dimensional expanse meets itself, that which is beyond, beyond, beyond is as apparent as it is infinitely unknowable. Moving on, going farther, and expanding capacity and opening to perpetual change, a card that reminds me that there's nowhere to land, no one to be, and nothing to become. Nothing is ever final. Okay, and then we get back to that metaphor again of like there not being an end, right? Pile 3 we're talking about, that world reversed at the beginning. Okay, a card that reminds me, oh, I'm sorry, I already read that, blah. There's always more, there's always beyond. To reach this place is to see the next. This is not a push to leave, but a recognition that there is no permanent staying. And the question to ask yourself is, how are my ideas of self keeping me from a more expanded experience? Okay, so what I'm really drawn to with this card, Pile 3, is all of the reflections of the metaphors that we talked about with beginnings and ends. You know, as we talk about this feeling that you had of, you know, I want this thing to end. Now I'm in this plateau that keeps dragging out. I feel like I'm not returning home. And then finally there's an ending to this. But really the ending is the return to what was, right? I mean, you can even get really philosophical about that in terms of thinking about, well, what is the path of our soul in life, Pile 3? You know, we manifest here physically. We live our life, okay? And then, I almost wonder, for those of you that are a bit older watching this reading, and I don't want to set a specific age limit, if a lot of you have already had a lot of family members die and you feel like you got left behind, it just came through really prominently. Because there's a feeling here of feeling like left behind, of things dragging out longer. But anyways, yeah, the metaphor with life, as I said, you're soul born, you keep living, you're going on, and then you return to what was as your soul passes on back, right? That's what this card means, really. It's a return home, as I was just talking about, but of course that's in the philosophical, more spiritual way. But we see reflections like that in a reading, and it reminds us, you know, of course on the big level we think of the path of our soul, but down on a more minimal, like minuscule level, sometimes it can just represent certain phases of our life. We see those echoes, okay? So that's what I'm seeing for you, Pile 3, is this big payoff is a triumphant return home to something even better, as I said, but also with the context of this card, it's a promise that you always do return home, even if a lot of you right now, I'm getting the feeling doubt what I'm saying. I feel like you're like, oh man, there's no way this plateau is going to change. There's no way that this is going to get better. I feel like it's just dragged on too long. I feel like I'm kind of stuck in this place. That card is a promise that there always is a return home. Okay. All right. So please believe that things will get better. You're going to make it out of this plateau. It's going to be more amazing than even it was before. Because remember, things were going okay. Plateau. Return to what it was, but even better. Okay, that's the overall, if I had to talk about it in terms of like altitude, standard of living and happiness. That's the trajectory of what's going on here. So the payoff is that, pile number 3. So thank you for sitting through. I feel like a lot of you might be writers and or readers, so I'm sure you're okay with the literary metaphors, but thank you for sitting through those if you were like, I'm not really interested in that part, so. But I use it to explain my message to you, so thank you for those of you that wasn't your favorite thing, but whatever. Anyways, I do what I want, right? My channel. In any case, I hope that the reading helped you. Pile number 3. That's what I care about most of all. But also that it resonated with you and that you liked it. So please like the video itself. Please comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And as I always say in our tradition, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, Pile 3.